Welcome back to Sunrise. It is now 17 and a half minutes after 6 o'clock on this fine Tuesday morning. You're just in time for your girl with the headlines. Ticklemus Maximus.
Hey.
Good morning, Ticklemus.
That
How
makes
are
me feel
you?
strong. I like it.
Yes,
Good
lovely.
morning.
How are you?
Good morning, TK.
It's good to see you guys, as always.
Great to see you
As
as well.
always,
How
as
are you?
always. I'm good. How are you?
I'm magnificent,
We're good.
thank you.
Good.
Excellent. We're going to jump into the headlines.
Yes.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Indeed.
Let's jump into it. First
All
up,
right.
fire guts Mona housing complex displacing 18 students. Another hiccup in the resumption of the new school year, this time involving the displacement of 18 University of Technology students following a fire that destroyed part of a housing complex on University Crescent in St. Andrew yesterday morning. The blaze, which started around 9:30 a.m., required 3 fire units to respond, with Senior Superintendent Patrick Gooden, Divisional Commander for Kingston and St. Andrew, reporting that it took firefighters 5.5 hours to extinguish the blaze. Thankfully, no one was injured. The cause of the fire is still under investigation.
And just like
Yeah,
that.
Right.
up in flames.
Yeah.
I saw it yesterday, and you know, it's just such a tragedy. Thankfully, as you said, TK, no lives were lost,
Yeah.
no one was hurt. But I can just imagine how painful it is for the students. You know, you're just getting your bearings together. You know, you have your documents in your room, you have probably your money in your room, your books, and you know, it's just a whole lot. And my heart really goes out to them, right? And it's just a reminder, the cause of the fire is unknown at this time. But just to say, you know, when we're leaving the house, you know, just let us check for certain things, be very careful, especially when you live, you know, in an apartment complex, right? So you make sure your stove turn off, you make sure the candles are out, you make sure iron plug out, or if you have electric stove, turn it off, you know? Because we don't know what the cause is, but it is just such an unfortunate situation. And I just hope that, you know, their fellow students will rally around them and help them as best as possible, right? And, you know, if they lost, for example, driver's license, passport or whatever, I hope that the different entities or agencies will help to expedite the renewal of, you know, or the return of yeah, those items. Well, it's just sad.
Along that same vein, strata managers, people who, you know, manage these properties also need to make sure that the electricals are properly inspected periodically, because some of the times it's some electrical faults and we don't know. I'm familiar with a particular property that was having serious electrical problems and, you know, low voltage and all, or variable voltage, and it was on the verge of a major accident. And next thing you know, you say, I don't know what could have caused that. Yeah, because you don't examine and take note of the little things.
And like we said, just so grateful no lives were lost and no major injuries or anything like that.
And again, if from you have life, you can start over.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You can start over.
Yeah. All right, next up, airport accident reignites calls for healthcare reform. The parliamentary opposition is urgently calling for healthcare reforms in Western Jamaica following the death of 71-year-old Leroy Smith at Sangster International Airport in St. James. Smith, who was returning to the United States after visiting family, collapsed and hit his head at the baggage counter last week and raised some concerns about the slow response at the airport and the absence of an ambulance, which has since prompted Transport Minister Daryl Vaz to launch an investigation into the matter. The incident has heightened scrutiny of how local authorities handle medical emergencies at key entry points, with many questioning whether a quicker response could have saved Smith's life.
There's so much going on in that story. So okay, it's so sad that you know, this person died in what possibly could very well have been a preventable death. He collapsed, hit his head. That is, you know, one phase of this, you know, mini situation, this crisis situation that he was experiencing. But so what is the reform in the healthcare that's being proposed? I know that the issue of ambulances is a long-standing one that I think that we have been discussing in this country. How should we? How can we make it work? How, you know, we've seen in Kingston you have this ambulance company, Sure Time.
Yes.
Now come on the scene and with like a fleet. We've seen, you know, but the quality of emergency response. But then the issue shifted in the story to local authorities, as in municipalities, municipal corporations.
One of the concerns was that, here is this international airport, major international airport at a key point of entry and exit from the country that has so many people passing through, and there's no direct contact with, for example, a hospital, an ambulance, any type of medical professional or anything. So if there is an emergency like there was with this gentleman, the time in which it was just to even contact and get help or get mobilize and get people.
What do you mean there's no contact?
Meaning there's no point of person on whether on property or nearby that is aligned with the airport itself being such an important.
Sangster International Airport is privately run.
That's correct.
And
not
so
by Jamaica.
so it's not
a government
it's not
issue.
a government that is not a government issue or a healthcare reform issue. That is a issue of the persons who have taken on the property, and I would struggle to believe that they don't have somebody who's supposed to make the call. So the question is, what happened in that moment? I learned to ask the questions, ask the right questions, get the answers, and then we can determine what the solution needs to be, lest we create a solution for a
problem that don't exist.
For the
wrong problem.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just trying to distill what the facts are, that in that situation, what happened, when did it happen, what was done, what was not done, you understand? Where was the breakdown? How much time did we have? Because I don't know if you've been to Montego Bay recently, but traffic is a thing in Montego Bay at all hours of the day. So I mean, in terms of the movement of of an ambulance to the airport.
To the airport to then go
to
the hospital, for example.
Because where would you take them? Well, you could take them to Hospital. Hospital is closer than Cornwall Regional.
Yes.
So I would probably, I'm thinking just as a layman, maybe Hospital. Somebody in the industry might be thinking something else. But I'm just saying that these are the questions that we as media, I as media would be asking.
I think another challenge, there was a video that's going around, and I don't know how confirmed or not confirmed it was one of the main challenges was that when it happened and they were calling for an ambulance or calling for something, the people, because it was just the people around him that was kind of taking it on, and they were told that some money had to be paid up front. I believe it was $400 before the person would be able to access the ambulance.
I don't know that to be the case.
I don't know that to be true. But that was one of the discussions in the public sphere.
For somebody already. I've seen on more than one occasion in terms of calling the ambulance. I think the figure works, and in two occasions, the figure worked out to be somewhere in the region of 30,000 Jamaican dollars. And is when you reach the hospital, you pay the money.
Yeah.
I've never seen. Oh, you have to pay the money up front.
Because he was traveling, it was just him traveling, and there was nobody. In other words, there was nobody to charge the 30,000 upon arrival at the hospital, which was a challenge. Because he's traveling back home, and it's just him. And so the question was, so who would handle this bill? I mean, that's one of the questions.
Which comes back to the issue of the privatization of ambulance services and versus government ambulance services. But have we tried to do government ambulance services back in the past? And it never worked? I don't. Anyway.
All right, that's for the square table. Not even the wrong one at all, in Jesus' name, but it's a very sad situation.
Yeah.
And again, we extend our prayers, our support to the family
of the gentleman,
the deceased,
Leroy Smith.
Mr. Smith, and we send him prayers during their time of bereavement. By the way, did you see that Raheem Sterling got baptized?
Yes.
Yeah, he said that he gave his life to the Lord. Said, over the years he has been achieving things and doing things, but he has always had that calling on his life, and he took the plunge.
Story. It's a beautiful story.
Beautiful thing. So
there are more than we think. There are a lot of There are a lot of footballers, professional footballers that we see on the field every week playing for their big clubs, and they're very devoted, committed Christians.
Yeah, I got to tell you. So congrats to you, Raheem Sterling, moving in the right direction. So big ups to you. Now, that's all we have time for this morning in our headlines. And coming up next, we'll be flexing our fluency language muscle with our weekly Russian. Russian. We're back to the Russian lesson. And stay with us right here on Sunrise.